You might be overwhelmed by a big thing you have to do. One of the things that drives us away from doing big work is because what we have to do is not well scoped out. In this quick video, I will share how I break out work into doable chunk that reduces the resistance to actually get it done. Well, in summary, it's more like I will show you how to think in outlines and how to break down and craft actionable to do. Let's jump to it. So you have some big work that you have to do. Let's make it a little bit practical. In this case, let's say what I want to do is to, let's say, scope out, let's say, something very vague. I'll be a little bit technical here. I will say build out, scope out building an app. Why not? So I'm supposed to scope out building some random app. We're not gonna care what the app is. Even if you're not technical, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fairly straightforward to follow. And if you're doing this, of course, this is a non-starter. It's kind of a big item to do. In almost most things that one is trying to do, regardless of what your project is, you might say, the first thing I want to do, let me make my task. I want to research problem domain. I'm spelling research there incorrectly. Let's fix that. Research problem space, right? These are my first to do. And the next thing I might think I want to do is that I want to make a list of all the next steps per my research. Okay, well, let's keep these two items for now. As you might have noticed, maybe not yet, but this is kind of a very bad to-do list. Let me tell you why. This to-do list right here, let's focus on this, does not give clarity on what I'm supposed to do. The way I think about this is that my task, when I'm speccing it out, should almost be so straightforward that when I look at it 2 days from now, tomorrow, whenever I'm ready to do it, it lets me know exactly what needs to happen. This way, I can overcome my monkey brain or my lizard brain that wants to run away when something just looks very hard to do. So, how do we make this better? By the way, I am in Logseq and Logseq here, the app that I use to take notes. So I'm gonna leave this like so. How do I take this from this very vague to do to something very, very clear? I use a sort of formula. And let's see what that looks like first. I'll rewrite this to do. In this case, I'm gonna break it down into much more specific stuff. I'm going to say, search google.com for competing apps. And here you'll find me not, and this will be competing right there, competing apps. Okay, what have I done here? I have written it such as, if I look at just this item, it's clear what I kind of need to do. To be sure, I probably should have some description. I know the action I'm gonna take. I have kind of written some context, right? One thing I can add here from browser or from app, or from this case, maybe I wanna do this from my searching app. We'll just leave that actually, where from browser. And here I can add a note and document and keep note and keep track of findings. This will probably go into the description of some sort. So here I might have and keep track of finding. It helps to add some context. Okay, so what I've done here is, this is my core to do. This, I have added the action I need to do, where I'm doing it, and pretty much I've added some context. And here I have some notes. Let's get rid of the notes for now so I can add this. What is my formula that I'm using here? Of course, I want to write my task list with a specific action. Think about it as a verb. Here might be a verb, but it's not necessarily complete yet. I don't necessarily have the other bits of things, which is often the context. In this case, what is happening, right? So I have my action verb. It needs to have the context. Ideally, if you can, you want to also have the where you're going to be doing this action, where you'll be taking this action. And pretty much your task list, if it contains all this, it adds a lot more clarity and it's a lot easier to get it done. When I get here, I'm going to just do, let's say this is my to-do list. So I have search Google for competing apps. In this case, I have some action, search google.com. That kind of also contains the context, but the context could be for competing apps. I know kind of what I am trying to do exactly. That's kind of the context, in this case, the core, if you will, the core of this task. And where am I doing it? In my browser. You can be as specific. Tomorrow I show up, I know exactly what needs to happen. There is a third bit here that we are skipping for now, and I will kind of keep that to the end, which is the when you're going to do it, or this could be duration, right? That's what you might consider as due date. However, I think about that due date a little bit differently and the duration. So we'll come back to this last. For now, let's make this optional. So we just, when we are doing our initial brainstorming of our task, we don't have to worry too much about due date. We'll leave that as is. Okay, let's move on. Let's do more task lists that at least clarifies this. Notice I'm breaking this down into now specific task list. On that to do, I'm gonna say make a list. That's my action right there. Make a list of all the competitors for my shortlist in note-taking app. So I'm gonna make a short list of my computer. I'm assuming after this is done, I move on to this. As you might notice, I'm using a note-taking app to do my to-do. You don't have to use fancy, crazy apps and things of this capacity. Quite frankly, I do a lot of my thinking in text and similar, and a lot of it either when I'm composing my thinking or I am clarifying my thinking. It just all happens in Logseq. Then eventually I might transfer it to other fancy software that allows you to add dependencies and do a lot of stuff. Remember, when you want to get things done, do it in the easiest way that reduces resistance. The more things between what you have to do and all the obstacles, the less chance that gets it done. So just a simple note-taking app, making it quick to do, gets it out of the way. Okay, so I'm going through my formula. The first few times, it might be tricky. What you might notice here, by the way, is that just do yourself a favor. Make what you're trying to do, make it very clear. Because what we are doing here is that we are writing a note to a different person. You are one person who is making this list. You are very optimistic. The person that will have to do this task will not be as optimistic, to be honest. Because in the future, when you come here, you might have forgotten why you want to do this. You might be a little bit, tired when you have to do this. However, if you write your task as clear as possible with the action, the context, in this case, what needs to be done, where it's going to happen, and ideally the duration, which we'll come back to, your future self would love you and thank you. And it reduces that lizard brain from running away. Let's add just one more. So this is a little bit fuller. And make a list of competition. We have this. And here, I will now say maybe what I'll now do is send an email to team on next step from Outlook. If that's your email, if that's the email you use, let's be a little bit friendlier and say Gmail. Okay. So again, let's leave this like so. The action I'm doing right there, plus a little bit of the core. And here to the team on next step, I have my kind of context there a little bit, right? I have the context, I have that there, and here I do have where this is going to happen, pretty much breaking it down like so. Okay, so send an email to team is our action, as we have for this. here I have the context, the stuff that I am actually trying to do, breaking it out. Where is what I have exactly right here? Now, when we have this, here's a quick way to think about duration. Because you never almost know how long something would take you to do, you want to give yourself some, if you will, some space. You just want to have a framework to think about, how can I estimate how long this might take? A very quick way to do that is the framework I love quite a lot, which in this case comes from the Pomodoro Technique. I've adopted this quite a bit with what I will share here. In this case, let's call it the Pomodoro Technique for estimating time, right? Pomodoro. And the core of a Pomodoro Technique is just the fact that you break task into 25 minutes chunk plus 5-minute break. 5-minute break. After a block of 25 minutes, you take another 25-minute break. But what I want to just focus on here is, I will say every task I would do, of course it might take less, it might take more, will take 25 minutes. So here, I'll be thinking that, okay, this might take me 25 minutes to do. This might take me 25 minutes to do, right? This might take me 25 minutes to do. I have 75 minutes there, to be sure. Some tasks will take longer. Let's assume this might take us, let's say search Google for computing, blah, blah. I can say, oh, this is gonna take me about, let's say 4 Pomodoros, right? So this would be 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. So that's about 100 minutes, about an hour and a half, thereabouts. So very quickly, I have a framework of how I can plan my time without even going into calendars or things of that capacity. I can say, okay, 25, 25, 25. I'm thinking that this would take me about an hour and a half. Understanding maybe you know what you have to do and the complexity. And I'm thinking, okay, if I'm budgeting my time, I'll probably budget about 1 hour 45 minutes for this, or maybe about 2 hours. That's what, roughly this would take. So when you are planning your day or planning your calendar or planning with your team, you know that, okay, I can do this on hour 45. When can I find an hour 45 to budget for this? And use the same. So maybe this is going to take you about 25 plus 25. We are about 50 minutes. Or, if you're going to give yourself that buffer, this would be about an hour to do. And this way, if you are planning this way, actually not this, but this is just the framework, but you get the idea. Let's move this and have this right here. So this would be about, 25, 25, 50, let's say about an hour, thereabout. If you're giving yourself this if you're doing planning this way, you can be a lot more realistic with how much you can actually get done, and your planning can be close to live and actually lets you get a lot done and it reduces the anxiety that might be all over you by saying, unlike what we started, I say, hey, I want a research problem, it's not clear how long it's going to take, you're not even sure the next thing you're going to do to research this problem space. Unlike breaking it down into more specific things, using the 25-minute block to estimate, so the minimum time you spend on a task will be 25, to be sure it might take less, but just give yourself the grace of 25, because in 25, it's very quick and easy. The math is slightly easier to do when you start to plan out the time. And here hey, I have about, right here in my day, about, so to speak, 2 to 2.5 hours, or let's just run it up. Let's say about 3 hours is kind of gone. Now you can say, hey, I know somewhere I have to find 3 hours. Can I really find 3 hours in the day to get this done, that I can focus on getting this task done? If the answer is no, then you can truly move this to when you actually have the time that you can get it done. You would agree. We're doing this. You can finally, like this video, if I have a task list that says share how to break task down simply and sensibly, and I have this task here, and I'm recording this video I'm sharing with you. I think we can be go confident that we can check, and as I hope you can check off all the tasks that you have. Now you know how to make this happen. Let's do it.